During the reading of my estranged father's will, my cousins laughed, saying I'd get nothing. I didn't say a word. Minutes later, the lawyer handed me a folder, proving their inheritance was fraudulently claimed, and they froze. My father and I hadn't spoken in 12 years. He'd remarried when I was 19, picked his new wife's kids over me, and made it clear I wasn't welcome anymore. The last conversation we had, he told me I reminded him too much of my dead mother and he needed to move on with his life. So when his lawyer called saying I needed to attend the will reading, I almost didn't go. My best friend Leah convinced me. At least get closure, she said. See what kind of man he really was in the end. The law office was on the 14th floor of a building downtown. I arrived 20 minutes early, sat in my car, and almost left 3 times, but something kept me there. The office was tense when I finally walked in. My stepmother Diane sat front and center with her 2 sons, Trevor and Brandon. They were both in their 30s now, wearing expensive suits that my father probably paid for. They were smirking the second I walked in. Trevor nudged Brandon and whispered something. They both snickered. I took a seat in the back corner, as far from them as possible. Diane didn't even acknowledge me. She sat there with her hands folded, looking like she'd already won whatever game this was. The lawyer, a gray-haired man named Morton, cleared his throat and started reading. The language was formal and cold. Trevor got the lake house in Tahoe, the one my father bought the year after he remarried. Brandon got the investment portfolio worth $300,000. Diane got the primary residence, a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs, and the car collection, which included a vintage Corvette and a Mercedes. Then nothing, just silence. Morton shuffled his papers, flipped a page, kept reading. More assets to Diane, a donation to some charity I'd never heard of. Instructions for the funeral, which had already happened 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't been invited to. Trevor actually laughed out loud. Guess Daddy really didn't give a damn about you after all. Brandon leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, grinning. 12 years is a long time to hold a grudge. Should've played nice. Diane finally looked at me, her expression smug. You made your choice when you stopped coming around. I stayed quiet, because 3 months earlier, I'd gotten a different letter from my father. One his lawyer knew nothing about. One he'd written before the dementia got bad, before Diane started controlling who he saw and when. It came in a plain envelope with no return address. Inside was a handwritten note. Violet, if you're reading this, I'm either gone or too far gone to stop her. I tried to fix it, but she watches everything. The lawyer doesn't know. Come to the will reading. Bring this. Tell Morton the phrase, North Star. He'll understand. I'm sorry for everything, Dad. Morton closed the folder and looked around the room. If there are no objections, that concludes North Star, I said quietly. Morton stopped mid-sentence. His eyes widened slightly. He stared at me for a long moment, then reached under the table and pulled out a separate briefcase. His hands were shaking as he unlocked it. What the hell is this? Diane snapped, sitting up straighter. Morton didn't answer her. He looked directly at me. Miss Patterson, your father left a separate instruction. He said to give you this directly if you ever spoke those words. He slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were hospital records showing medications Diane had been administering that weren't prescribed, financial statements with forged signatures, bank transfers moving money out of my father's accounts into ones under Diane's name, and a notarized letter from my father's doctor confirming that for the past 2 years, Diane had been controlling his medications, isolating him from friends and family, and forging his signature on financial documents, including the will they'd just read. Trevor's smirk disappeared. Diane went white. Brandon tried to grab the folder, but Morton pulled it back, his face pale. These documents indicate Mrs. Patterson may have engaged in elder abuse and financial fraud, Morton said slowly, his voice tight. I'm legally obligated to report this. My father's real will, the one he'd filed 5 years ago, before marrying Diane, before the isolation, before everything left everything to me. Diane started screaming about lies and defamation, her voice shrill and desperate. Trevor was on his feet, pointing at me, calling me a liar. Brandon just sat there, frozen. But the police were already being called. I looked at Trevor one last time before I left. Yes, Daddy really did give a damn after all.